summit. Thank you very much, Fran. Over to you.
Thank you, Tim. Tēnā koutou katoa. Prime Minister, Minister O'Connor, Ambassador Mayor Goff, distinguished guests all. On behalf of my co-host Michael Barnett and myself, it's a pleasure to welcome you. Very shortly I will ask the Prime Minister to address you, but first let me acknowledge our privilege in having the United States Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, join us today with some opening comments. I acknowledge here Minister O'Connor's warm relationship with the Secretary and the conversations, Minister, that you've been having on the development of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, which you'll hear more of today. I also acknowledge and thank you, Ambassador Udall, for the role you've played in also supporting our invitation to the Secretary to speak to the summit, and particularly as she, of course, has an all-consuming role at the moment in administering the sanctions against Russia. My special thanks also to Ambassador Rosemary Banks, who has liaised assiduously on our behalf in Washington to secure the participation of Kurt Campbell, the National Security Council Coordinator for the Indo-Pacific in the current administration. This is a testing time for international affairs, which we'll hear more of today, but also for the international economy with continuing supply chain issues, the impact of Ukraine, and the march of global inflation, on which we'll learn more when our stellar business panel unpacks the environment. In this room today, Prime Minister, we have champions of the bilateral relationship with the US and also regional business cooperation. And I acknowledge here colleagues from the United States, New Zealand United States Council, and also the work of the International Business Forum, the Pacific Economic Cooperation Council, and of course, AmCham. Prime Minister, I commend their work to you, and as we finally open up to the world and you prepare for your business mission to the US, I'm sure several such leaders will be willing to support you. In fact, I believe you do have letters from at least 2 of them on your desk who'd be happy to lend support if you do get to go to Washington, DC on this current visit. Despite current difficulties, let us not forget it's also an exciting time for New Zealand business. I'm personally inspired, and I'm sure you all will be as well, when Peter Beck, the founder and CEO of Rocket Lab, speaks to us today. And I'm actually thrilled that he's made time on the launch of the Capstone mission to address us this morning. And we'll learn more about New Zealand's adventures in space later today. Greg Foran, who came from a spectacular career at Walmart to lead Air New Zealand, will share his insights into high-level business in the United States. And I can promise you that will be a real business masterclass. We'll also hear from Wisk, Fonterra, Zespri, Whakatu, Microsoft, and Christchurch International Airport, among, of course, our speakers, first up from Air New Zealand and also from Mainfreight. It's notable that while we talk about New Zealand finally reopening for business, that today, after more than 2 long years, international tourists from some 60 visa waiver countries are once allowed into New Zealand. You yourself, Prime Minister, have already led a mission to Singapore and Japan, which was really appreciated by those leaders who went with you. And we all know that visible political leadership does assist our companies open doors, and business welcomes your willingness to be on the road for much of the year and also to take the inevitable selfies with customers. It works, I tell you. But also the deep discussions you have had with the political leaders of both countries, where you forged a security pact with Japan and a climate change partnership with Singapore. The US is next on your dance card. We look forward to your readout on New Zealand's relationship with the US and your thoughts on how New Zealand can navigate geostrategic challenges, particularly in this environment of heightened uncertainty with the emergence of the Ukraine crisis, and more on how you will support opportunities for New Zealand firms in the US through leading a business mission there later this month. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Prime Minister to the stage.